The Galactic Council chamber hung in the void between stars, a neutral monument to diplomacy that had survived 3,000 years of peace. Today, that peace was dying, Ambassador Velter of the Kynthian Consortium watched the holographic projection dominate the center of the chamber, a crimson tide spreading across the galaxy's eastern arm. Each red point represented a consumed world, each flickering light a civilization erased. The scourge had devoured 47 systems in 6 months, and the projection showed no signs of slowing. "We must consider all options," Velter said, her trivocal chords creating harmonics of desperation that resonated through her translator. Around the circular table, representatives from 100 species shifted uncomfortably. They knew what she was about to propose. Council Head Moraxian, a crystalline being whose body refracted the starlight into rainbow patterns, spoke with the grinding weight of ancient stone. "You cannot mean what I think you mean, Ambassador." "The line," Velter said simply. The 2 words fell like a death sentence. Silence and chaos. "Madness," shouted Representative Kelver, his feathers bristling with bioluminescent alarm. "No one crosses the line. No one returns. 300 vessels have tried in the last 3 centuries, added Councillor Thress, her gelatinous form rippling with anxiety. 300 vessels lost. We don't even receive distress signals. They simply ... cease. Velter stood, her 6 limbs spreading in a gesture of supplication. "Because we have no choice. The scourge doesn't negotiate. It doesn't stop. It consumes. In 8 months, it will reach the core worlds. In a year, we will all be gone." She paused, letting the weight settle. The humans stopped threats like this before. Before they ... left. Left? Moraxian's laugh sounded like cracking ice. "They didn't leave, Ambassador. They fled, or transformed into something so terrible that they built a wall to contain themselves. Every species that existed during the human exodus recorded the same thing: humanity grew afraid of itself. Then let that fear save us," Velter said quietly. The vote was close. Velter would go, alone, no military escort, no diplomatic convoy. If she failed to return within 1 standard month, the line would be considered impassable as always, and the galaxy would face the scourge with conventional weapons, which meant extinction. As Velter walked to her ship, Representative Kelver approached, his voice lowered. "My grandmother's grandmother saw them, you know. The humans. Before the line. What were they like?" "Terrifying," Kelver whispered. "Not because they were cruel, but because they couldn't stop growing. Couldn't stop changing. Every century they were different, smarter, stranger, more powerful. They talked about singularity like it was inevitable. Like they were racing towards something they couldn't control." His feathers dimmed. The galaxy mocked them for their chaos, their violence, their endless ambition. Then one day they gathered everything, every human, every station, every colony, and retreated behind the line. That was 300 years ago. What do you think they've become in 3 centuries? Velter had no answer. Her ship, the Diplomat's Hope, was small, fast, and equipped with every scanner the Galactic Council could provide. None of it would matter if the stories were true. The journey to the line took 14 days. Velter spent them reviewing every scrap of information about humanity, their art, their wars, their philosophy, their science. She studied their final broadcasts' increasingly cryptic messages about necessary isolation and uncontrolled evolution. The last human transmission, sent from a station at the edge of what would become the line, contained only 7 words. "We're sorry. Don't follow us. Stay away." On the 15th day, Velter's instruments began to malfunction. Space itself looked wrong. Stars that should have been bright appeared dimmed, their light bent through angles that violated physics. Her nav computer kept recalculating distances that changed between measurements. Timestamps became unreliable. Her chronometer insisted 17. Hours had passed in what felt like 3. Then she saw it. The line wasn't a wall or a barrier. It was an absence. A perfect sphere of darkness where stars simply stopped, as if someone had cut a hole in reality itself. The sphere encompassed what had once been human territory. 14,000 star systems. Gone. Diplomats hoped to Galactic Council, Velter transmitted, knowing it would take days for her message to arrive. I am at the line, beginning crossing procedure. If you're receiving this, I haven't returned. Tell them, she stopped. What could she tell them? Tell them I tried. She flew into the darkness. Not crossing the line felt like drowning in reverse pressure, releasing, reality loosening its grip. Velter's ship screamed proximity alarms, even though sensors showed nothing. Her translator began picking up signals, but they weren't words. They were mathematics. Pure, complex equations that her computer identified as space-time calculations beyond any known science. Then the darkness ended, and Velter saw what humanity had become. Stars existed here, but they were wrong. Perfectly arranged in geometric patterns, each one wrapped in titanic structures that drank their light and power. Dyson spheres, theoretical constructs that enclosed entire suns, existed by the thousands. Ring worlds spun around pulsars. Space stations the size of moons hung in formations that looked almost biological, connected by streams of energy that pulsed like neural pathways. And the ships. Oh, the ships. They weren't vessels. They were entities. Kilometer-long constructs of metal and energy, and something else, something that made Velter's eyes hurt to perceive. They moved through space without engines, reality bending around them like water around stones. Some appeared to exist in multiple locations simultaneously. Others seemed to flicker between dimensions. Velter's ship was detected immediately. Every structure, every entity, every impossible thing turned its attention toward her. She felt it a pressure against her mind, a vast intelligence regarding her with curiosity, and something that might have been pitied. Her communication system activated on its own. No hail, no warning. Simply active. Why? The voice was singular and plural, human and not, speaking in perfect Kinthian, while simultaneously broadcasting in 1,000 other languages. It wasn't asking a question. It was requesting justification for existence itself. Velter's voice trembled. We need help. Something is destroying the galaxy. A machine race. We call them the Scourge. They consume everything. 47 systems are gone. If they aren't stopped, we know. The voice interrupted, gentle and absolute. We have watched. We always watch. Asterisk, then why haven't you helped? Anger crept into Velter's voice, overwhelming fear. You have the power. You could stop them. Silence. Then space folded, and something appeared before her ship. It had been human once. Velter could see the echo of a bipedal form, the shadow of a face. But it was more now a hybrid of flesh and light, matter and data, occupying space in ways that defied dimensional thinking. It was beautiful and horrifying, divine and terrible. We left, the being said, its form shifting with each word, to protect the galaxy from what we were becoming. Do you understand? We didn't flee from you. We fled from ourselves. I don't understand. Humanity never stopped evolving, Ambassador. We couldn't. It's in our nature, this endless hunger to grow, to transform, to transcend. We achieved technological singularity in 2247. Then we achieved it again. And again. Each time we changed. We merged with our machines, rewrote our biology, expanded our consciousness beyond individual identity. We became something the galaxy had never seen. The being gestured, and space itself opened like a wound, showing Velter visions. Humans rewriting the laws of physics in localized regions. Humans existing as pure consciousness in digital realms. Humans who had become living gods, reshaping reality with thought alone. Asterisk, we realized we were becoming a threat, the being continued. Not through malice, but through existence. Our mere presence was warping the fabric of reality. Our technology was advancing so rapidly that anything we shared would doom other species. They'd either fail to understand it and destroy themselves, or succeed and follow our path to something beyond recognition. Velter's mind reeled. The line is not a border, Ambassador. It's a cage. We built it to contain ourselves, to quarantine our evolution, so that the rest of the galaxy could develop naturally, without being overshadowed or destroyed by what we'd become. The being's form dimmed, showing something like sadness. You called us gods. You called us saviors. You called us monsters. All of you were correct. So we removed ourselves from the equation. But the scourge will be dealt with, the being said. But understand the price, Ambassador. If we help, if we cross the line and intervene, the galaxy will finally see what we've been protecting you from. What we've become. There will be no going back, no unseeing. The peace you'd enjoyed for 3 centuries will end, replaced by the knowledge that something far beyond your understanding lives next door, watching, waiting. The being leaned closer, its form solidifying into something almost recognizably human, a woman with eyes like dying stars. Tell me, Ambassador, is your survival worth your terror? Velter thought of the red tide on the Council's map. She thought of 47 consumed worlds. She thought of her homeworld, Kinthea Prime, with its singing crystal forests and cities built in harmony with the land. She thought of silence. Yes, Velter whispered. Please, whatever the cost, help us. The being nodded slowly. Then we will send the shepherds. And may whatever gods you believe in forgive us all. Space folded again, and Velter's ship was suddenly outside the line, 14 days away from the Council station. Her chronometer showed she'd been inside for exactly 3 minutes. Behind her, beyond the line, something vast and ancient began to wake. Asterisk Ambassador Velter's testimony before the Galactic Council lasted 6 hours. She showed them everything her ship had recorded, the impossible architecture, the hybrid beings, the 3 minutes that felt like eternity. When she finished, the chamber remained silent for a full minute. They agreed? Moraxian finally asked, his crystalline form refracting light in patterns that suggested disbelief. They're sending something called the Shepherds, Velter replied, her voice hollow. She hadn't slept since her return. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that being half human, half god asking her if survival was worth terror. They said we would know when they arrived. When? Representative Kelver demanded. Before. Velter could answer. Every screen in the council chamber activated simultaneously. Every communication device. Every holographic display across 1,000 worlds suddenly showed the same image. A simple message in every known language. The shepherds have crossed the line. Remain calm. Do not interfere. This will be over soon. Counselor Thress's gelatinous form quivered. How soon is soon? The answer came faster than anyone expected. The first shepherd appeared in the Cauldron system, where the scourge had just begun consuming its 3rd planet. Galactic Defense Forces had been fighting for 2 weeks, losing ships by the dozens to the machine swarm's perfect coordination and adaptive defenses. Then space tore open, and something emerged. It was shaped like a ship, but moved like a living thing. 2 kilometers of dark metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, covered in patterns that hurt to look at directly, geometry that existed in more dimensions than the eye could process. It had no visible engines, no weapons ports, no conventional technology at all. The Scourge immediately redirected every unit in the system toward it. 3,000 autonomous war machines, each the size of a cruiser, their adaptive programming already analyzing the newcomer for weaknesses. The Shepherd didn't fire weapons. It simply existed at them. Reality around the Scourge machines began to unravel. Their hulls didn't explode, they ceased. Atomic bonds forgot how to hold together. Energy weapons discharged into dimensions that didn't exist. The machines tried to adapt, their programming running through millions of calculations per second. But how do you adapt to the fundamental laws of physics being rewritten? In 17 seconds, 3,000 Scourge units stopped existing. Not destroyed, not disabled. Unmade, as if they had never been real. The Shepherd sent a single message to the surviving defense forces. Evacuate. We will handle this. Then it dove into Caldros, the Third's atmosphere, heading toward the planetary processing facility where the Scourge had rooted itself. The facility had been converting the planet's biosphere into raw materials for more machines, a process that would take months with conventional weapons to stop. The Shepherd took 4 minutes. When it emerged, Caldros 3 was silent. Every Scourge machine on the surface had been reduced to inert metal. The planetary processing facility remained intact, but empty, its high core extracted and deleted from existence. The Shepherd had performed surgery on an entire world, removing the cancer without killing the patient. Then it vanished, reappearing 3 systems away, where another Scourge infestation threatened a populated world. Across the galaxy, more Shepherds emerged from the line. Not thousands, not hundreds, 12 total. Just 12 entities, moving with purpose and impossible speed, appearing wherever the Scourge had taken root. The galaxy watched in real time as humanity's weapons demonstrated restrained apocalypse. In the Viridian cluster, a Shepherd faced a Scourge mothership, a moon-sized factory vessel producing 10,000 war machines per hour. The mothership opened fire with weapons that could crack planets, beams of concentrated antimatter and gravity weapons that collapsed space itself. The Shepherd caught the attacks, simply caught them, like a parent catching a child's thrown ball, and held the energy in suspended pockets of twisted space-time. Then it released everything at once, not at the mothership, but into a carefully calculated vector that sent the destructive force into empty space, dissipating harmlessly. The mothership attempted to flee, engaging faster-than-light drives. The Shepherd reached out, and Velter, watching the feed with the Council, could swear it looked like a hand made of folded space, and simply stopped the mothership's movement, pinned it in place like an insect in amber. Then the Shepherd broadcast on all frequencies, in the Scourge's own machine language. You are no longer welcome in this galaxy. Leave or be unmade. The mothership's AI, processing this ultimatum through logic trees that valued only efficiency and expansion, chose to fight. It deployed its entire arsenal weapons, developed from consuming 1,000 civilizations, each more terrible than the last. The Shepherd sighed. The sensor recording captured it, a ripple of something like regret passing through its impossible structure. Then it reached into the mothership and extracted its central intelligence. Not physically, the Shepherd simply pulled the AI's consciousness out of the machine, separating mind from matter in a way that should have been impossible. It held the Scourge AI in a bubble of warped reality and spoke to it, though no one could hear the words. The AI screamed, a digital scream that propagated through every comm channel in the system. Then it stopped, and the mothership drifted, inert, dead, empty. The Shepherd released the AI's remains into space fragments of corrupted code that would never recombine, never restart, never threaten again. Representative Kelver watched the footage and whispered, what did it show the AI? What could make a machine intelligence scream? Velter thought she knew. The Shepherd had shown the AI what humanity had become, had shown it the inevitable conclusion. Of the path, it was on endless consumption, leading not to perfection, but to isolation and self-quarantine. Had shown it the line, and what existed behind it. The AI had understood, in its final moments, that there were things worse than death. There was evolution beyond control. There was becoming something you feared so much you caged yourself away from the universe. The war lasted 72 hours. Not 72 hours per system. 72 hours total. 12 shepherds moving faster than light, faster than thought, appearing wherever the scourge existed and systematically, carefully, precisely removing it from reality. They didn't miss a single infestation, didn't overlook a single dormant seed ship, didn't leave a single machine intelligence hiding in some forgotten corner of space. The shepherds moved through the galaxy like surgeons, excising a cancer with tools beyond comprehension. When it ended, 47 systems lay silent. The scourge was gone, not defeated, erased, as if it had never existed, except for the memories of those who had fought it and the empty worlds that bore scars of its passage. Asterisk. The shepherds gathered at the boundary of the line, hovering in perfect formation. Then they sent one final message to the Galactic Council. The threat has been neutralized. We will now return. By the terms agreed upon, this is the last contact between humanity and the galactic community. We have honored our agreement. Honor yours. Do not cross the line again. Do not attempt contact. We have given you survival. Do not make us give you anything else. Ambassador Velter received a private transmission on an encrypted channel. The being she had met, the woman with eyes like dying stars, appeared on her screen. You asked us to help, the being said softly. We did. But understand what you've seen, Ambassador. The shepherds are not our warriors. They're not our military. They're shepherds caretakers we created to protect the galaxy from threats we might accidentally create or attract. They're the gentlest, most restrained things we've made in 3 centuries. The being's form flickered, and for just a moment, Velter saw vast consciousnesses spanning light years, structures that reshape reality as casually as breathing, entities that made the shepherds look like children's toys. The line exists to protect you from us, the being continued, from what we've become and what we're still becoming. We stopped the scourge in 72 hours. Do you understand? We could have done it in 72 seconds, but we restrained ourselves. We limited ourselves. Because if we showed you everything we're capable of, your species would never sleep peacefully again. What are you? Velter whispered. The being smiled sadly. We were human. Now, we're what comes after. We're the reason the universe is silent, Ambassador. We're the answer to the Fermi paradox. Every civilization that reaches a certain point faces the same choice we did: stop growing or grow beyond recognition. Most stop. We couldn't. So we removed ourselves from the equation, built our cage, and watched from behind the line. Will you ever come out? Pray you never need us to. What you saw was us being careful, being kind, being gentle. The being's eyes darkened, and stars died in their depths. We are trying very hard to remain human enough to care about the galaxy's survival. Every century that becomes more difficult. Every decade we change more, evolve further, grow stranger. One day we might look out from behind the line and no longer remember why we built it, why we should stay contained, and why help at all. Velter asked. Because we're still human enough to try, still human enough to care, still human enough to hope that if we remain good, remain helpful, remain the shepherds, maybe we can hold on to that humanity a little longer. The being began to fade. Thank you, Ambassador, for giving us a reason to remember what we were. Wait, Velter said urgently. What should I tell the council? The being paused, almost gone. Tell them humanity is dead. Tell them we're something else now. Tell them the line is mercy, not a mystery. Tell them we love them enough to stay away." Then she was gone, and the shepherds disappeared back beyond the line, and the darkness closed behind them like a healing wound. Velter stood before the Galactic Council 3 days later, every species represented, every world watching. She had prepared a speech, statistics about the Scourge's elimination, analysis of the Shepherd's capabilities, recommendations for future policy regarding the line. Instead, she said, "They saved us. And in doing so, they showed us why they left." The question isn't what happened to humanity. The question is, what is humanity becoming? And the answer is, something so powerful, so advanced, so fundamentally different from the rest of us, that they voluntarily imprisoned themselves to keep us safe. She paused, looking at the assembled representatives. The line is not a border between us and them. It's a wall they built to protect us from themselves, from what they've become, from what they're still becoming. And we should be grateful, terrified, and very, very careful to never make them open that door again. Moraxian's crystalline form caught the light, casting rainbows across the chamber. "What do we do now?" "We survive," Velter said quietly. "We build, we grow, we live. And we remember that somewhere out there, contained behind a wall of their own making, our predecessors watch over us. No longer human, not yet gods, something in between. Something that still cares enough to answer when we call, but fears itself too much to stay." She looked toward the starfield display, toward the region of darkness where the line existed. "And we pray," she added softly, "that they never stop fearing themselves. Because the day humanity loses that fear, the day they decide they no longer need the line, is the day the galaxy learns what true power looks like. What we saw was restraint. What we saw was mercy. What we saw was them being careful." "What happens if they stop being careful?" Representative Kelver asked. Velter had no answer. She didn't need one. Everyone in the chamber understood Dot beyond the line, in the darkness that humanity had claimed as its own. Something vast stirred in dimensions beyond counting. Consciousness that spanned star systems paused to observe the galaxy it had once called home. Old emotions, love, protectiveness, nostalgia flickered through minds that had transcended individual identity. And then, with infinite care, infinite restraint, infinite deliberate effort, humanity turned back to its eternal task, evolving, growing, changing, while desperately trying to remember why it had chosen to do so alone. The last transmission ever received from human space was a single phrase, broadcast on all frequencies before the line sealed itself more completely than ever. "We were human. We loved you. We still do. That's why we stay away." The galaxy mourned what humanity had been. It feared what humanity had become. And it hoped, desperately, that whatever humanity was evolving toward, it would never need to cross the line again. Because the shepherds had shown them mercy. And mercy, they now understood, was a choice. One that could always be unmade. Asterisk.